Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. And today we're going to install the crankshaft in our engine block. And what I've done is very meticulously cleaned the surfaces here where I'm going to install the main bearings. Main bearings. Let's show you here. This being the thrust bearing, because it has this thrust surface on each side, and that helps keep the crankshaft from moving fore and aft. If this was installed incorrectly, what could happen is this could bind up, or it could allow the crankshaft to move fore and aft a little bit too much, and that could cause some problems. The result would be engine disassembly. All right, so you notice that this is, since this is the upper half, we have the oil feed hole, and then the groove here that allows the oil to spread out along the bearing surface. Now the bottom half of the bearing, let me show you one of those. This is just number one here. It's nice and plain. You also notice that there's tabs. There's a tab here, and then there's a tab. Get this going here. There's a tab on this bearing right here. And those tabs are important because that actually locks the bearings into place and keeps them from rotating on one another. Okay. All right, so let's get started. On this particular engine, the thrust bearing is number 3, but we're going to work our way from the front back. Number 1 first, and I need my sharp towel. Make sure the bearings are very clean. They come clean from the factory. We're going to just wipe them down just to make sure they're clean. Some people actually burnish the surface of the bearing before installing it. I never have, but they seem to have good results. But set that in there. Number 2. I'm just lining up that little tab that stuck out with the corresponding notch in the block, pressing the bearing shell into place. Another thing I'm watching is this oil feed hole, making sure that lines up with the hole that's in the actual bearing. Line that up, press that in, and that number 3 is tight, so we're going to just give a tiny little tap in a position, and I'm feeling the surface here, making sure that's flat and this is flat. Sometimes you'll feel this will feel a little raised up. The bearing will actually feel a little bit proud of the mating surface here, and as long as it's even on both sides, that's okay, because the bearings are actually made slightly oversized, so whenever you tighten the cap down, it actually crushes the bearing a little bit, and then that sets your clearance for the oil clearances. This one. And I do not want any dirt underneath that bearing in this surface right here. I want no dirt in there, because just the tiniest little particle of dirt is going to raise that bearing up. It's going to keep it from seating properly, and it's going to destroy all the clearances that I'm trying to achieve. Okay, that's it. Now, I want to get some product on here, some assembly lube. Let's try this side. And you don't want to cheap out on this. Get plenty on there. I want no dry surfaces on that bearing whatsoever. I'm going to get that completely coated. Make sure everything's coated. This one. And this one I'm also going to take my finger and rub a little bit on the thrust side of the bearing also, front and back. No fancy technique here, just get it on your fingers. You have to kind of get right in there. Get everything covered. Make sure there's no dry spots. And this stuff is really sticky. It's regular assembly lube. All right, at this point we're ready to drop the crank in. So we got the crank all prepped and everything. So what I want to do is kind of line the journals up, and this crank is very clean. I've taken a lot of time to meticulously clean it, and we're just going to set it right down in the saddle. There it is. At this point I do not want to spin that, not yet, because the bearing clearances haven't been set yet. So we have our cap here, have a tab on this side, and then we have this tab. That tab goes opposite, goes on the same side, but because the tab on the upper shell is on this side and this tab is centered, they can work against each other to keep the bearing from spinning. So let me jump in front of you here. You get a little assembly lube. Start on that. Make sure it's covered well. And we have our tab and our tab. The same side. There we go. Just work our way down. A lot of engine assembly is just a lot of repetition. So over and over doing the same thing. So I have my tab, and the other tab is located there. Now in this motor, there's the main caps are numbered 1 through 5. There's actually a number on there. I can see the orientation of the number. I can also go by that, but that means I have to make sure this one is in correctly. Get that on there, and the thrust surface. Have our tab. I'm going to match that up with the other one, and the numbers oriented correctly. Okay, 2 more. I already had a little bit on here, but I'm just making sure get it all covered completely. I'm making a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. Make sure my tabs are in the right spot. It's nice looking at that crankshaft. It's really, really clean. It's really nice to look at. And number 5, match your tabs up and drop it in. There we go. Somewhat line the bolt holes up. Okay, now when it comes to the bolts, the manual says drop of oil on the threads and 1 underneath the head. That's all we need. Again, I'm just going to work our way through. Drop and a drop. If you remember during our cleaning video, our block cleaning video, I made sure. Okay. Well, that was a mistake. So that means we got to clean that. Since that hit the floor, I'm going to completely clean it off with brake clean. Make sure there's absolutely no dirt or dust on it. That looks good. And we'll start again. Now we have these cleaned off to the side. We're ready to go until I drop that one. Kind of glad that happened, because if you're assembling a motor and something like that happens, it's all just part of engine building. A long time ago, I was putting together a small block Chevy and a Sport Camaro that I had, and this one, and getting ready to put the pistons in, and I dropped the piston rod assembly, and when it hit the floor, it broke the skirt on the piston, and I had to call and order another piston. I was not happy. so I had to delay my build. But got the piston, put it all back together, and to my knowledge, that motor, this is probably about 15 years ago, that motor is still running today. All right, so we got all of our bolts started. So we're going to run them in here, and we're going to start from the center. I always want to start from the center and then work our way out. You don't want to torque that down. Just want to get the bolts to the bottom. Very, very easy. Things really ratcheting for some reason. Okay. Let's grab this. Again, we're going to start from the middle. And you can see that's still loose. I want to tighten that down. Get the two halves of the bearing tightened down uniformly. I don't want to torque it yet. And I said work from the center out, but it doesn't matter whether you kind of go forward first and then back, or back and then forward. Okay, back here. Just want to get them snug. All right, okay, right here. There, and lastly. Again, I do not want to torque that down. Okay, now, just make sure we get the oil off of there, because we're going to be torquing these down. Now, after I got this snug, what we're going to do to set our thrust clearance, so I'm going to strike the crank from the front. Have a hammer with a nylon head on it, and then also strike it from behind, a couple times, and that should send our crank up. All right, we still don't want to turn that over yet. Now, book says 15 pounds on these. And then we're going to turn them another 90 degrees. And I have a little trick to show you on how we're going to do that. So I don't have a clicking torque wrench that'll read as low as 15 pounds. So I'm going to use this bar type, and I'm just going to bring that up. Bring it up in one smooth shot, 15 pounds. Smooth. And whenever you do this, you don't want to jerk it. You just want to move nice and smooth. Nice smooth arc. Yep. There you go, 15. The other thing we want to be careful of is if we stop very close to 15 and then try to start again, like if I would have to stop here, reset it, and then pull, there's the torque that you see here, but there's also what's called a breakaway torque. The breakaway torque to get the bolt moving is a lot higher than what the actual torque is. So by doing this in one smooth motion, you guarantee that you get right up to 15 pounds. Okay, let me get this one. This one. And finally, that one. Yep. And then I like to go through just to make sure I haven't missed any. See, that's right at the 15. It did not move. Did not move. Did not move. Didn't miss that one. Didn't miss that one. Didn't miss that one. Looks like we got that one. That one. That one. That one. Okay. All right, now, after this, it says to turn them another 90 degrees. There's a little bit of a trick to do that. We're going to use a Sharpie. What I'm going to do is mark the cap here on either side on all 10 bolts, and it's straight in here. I used to eyeball this, but this is a little bit better method. This is a little bit better method. Okay, now from here, I want to put a mark on the bolt. But I have to do it in a way where I can still see it. Socket's going to go down over. I can just see a little bit of the bolt there. So we're going to come 90 degrees, which is the front of the motor right here. Put a little mark there. On the back, since we're turning clockwise, righty-tighty, 90 degrees. Front. Just going to get up onto the bolt head a little bit. It's okay if I have to stop and redo and move this because I have that mark on there. And the reason why I'm doing this way is as you turn these, the torque is incredible. The amount of torque that you get whenever you tighten these down. And this breaker bar will actually bend, and even though I'm aiming it, say here, I might have to turn all the way over here because it'll bend so much. So I want to make sure these readings are absolutely perfect. That's why I'm putting the marks there, and then we just line the marks up, and we're at 90 degrees. Nice and clean. Actually going to redo this one. Yep. Okay. Yeah, oil on a Sharpie doesn't mix too well. Okay. Now all we got to do is line our marks up. Get this one here a little bit better. Make sure I'm really good to go. Okay, we're good to go. All right. And again, we're going to start from the center. Start with this one. And I'm trying to eyeball it a little bit. I don't want to overdo it. So what I'll do is I'll come up, get it close, I'll look at it, check it, and then tweak it. So from here. It's pretty close. Closer. A little bit. And then just a wee bit. Right on. Okay. And then this one, we're going to line this one up. That's pretty close. A little bit. Oh, still a little bit. Smallest little bit. And even more. There we go. That's it. Okay. Let's go to this one next. I'm kind of eyeballing it. 90 degrees would be right here. Should be pretty close. That's pretty close. Oop, come on now. A little bit more. And just a wee bit more. Looks good. And then this one. what's nice about this is you can see where the marks are lined up, and I know for sure that I did that bolt. I don't have to second guess myself. Almost. That's it. Okay. Back here. Ooh, that'll get that one good. That's right on. I don't want to go any further.